This episode is brought to you by Twizzlers. Long day, late night, feeling a little bored? Twizzlers is the ultimate sidekick for any moment of the day, no matter what kind of day you're having. The perfect level of sweet and a fun excuse to sit back and relax. Unwind with Twizzlers. To buy now, visit Hersheyland.com/Twizzlers.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.
Hello, world, and welcome back to another episode of Thanks for Coming In. I'm your host, Jillian Clare. If this is your first time tuning into the show, welcome to the madness. Every week I have on a new guest who tells me some awful audition stories. Sometimes they're really funny and sometimes they break your heart. And we have a great time talking about their career, their accomplishments, and all of the missteps along the way. Before we get started with this show, I just wanted to take a moment of silence for Helena Hutchins, who tragically lost her life creating art last week. So please join me in that moment now. I know that a lot of us in the filmmaking community have been beside ourselves this past week. It's been rough, and my heart really does go out to everybody who was on that set, everyone who knew Helena, her family, her friends, her husband, her son. I never had the pleasure of working with her, but she sounds like she was so full of life and so full of creative juice and wonderful vision, and our industry is definitely lesser without her here. While we are here, before we do the interview portion of the show, I just want to remind everybody, I know that Halloween is this weekend, and I'm very excited, and yes, my costume is done, and yes, I'm picking it up, and yes, I will put photos on Instagram for you to see. But please, 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 please be safe this weekend. There's still a pandemic going on. I am going to a party, but we are all vaccinated. We are all getting tested 72 hours beforehand. We are all going to be safe as possibly can be, wearing masks. So please be safe this weekend. Please don't drink and drive. Take an Uber, call a friend, stay over at that person's house, whoever you're with. Just be safe and considerate of others, I beg you. Today on the show, we have Bo Yokely. He and I had such a great chat, and it was so nice to meet an actor with such enthusiasm for the art of filmmaking. So here is my conversation with Bo Yokely. And welcome to the show, Mr. Bo Yokely.
Thank you very much, Julian.
How are you doing on this fine day?
I'm doing great. It's starting to look like fall a little bit out there, so I'm excited.
Are you on the East Coast or the West Coast?
I'm on East Coast currently.
Ooh, lucky. I want to see some trees turning.
We get all 4 seasons. Yeah, so I stay in North Carolina a lot of the time, and we have winter, we get snow, fall, beautiful leaves change, summer, spring, the whole thing. So
yeah, I shot a movie out in North Carolina when I think I was 19, and it was funny. October 1st, it started snowing, and everyone was like, "This is bizarre. It shouldn't be happening." Just so you know.
I have never. I don't remember that. When was this?
Okay, so I was 19, so that's 10 years ago. So 2011. And we were filming like in the mountains. Like we were up in a tiny, tiny little town called Banner Elk outside of Boone.
Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly where Banner Elk was at. In fact, one of my favorite restaurants was there. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Is it the little Italian one that's down like off the mountain?
No, it's I think it's called Sixpence Pub, I believe is the name.
Okay.
It's like a little hole in the wall. You would walk right by it, but it's like an old Irish style pub, and the food is incredible though. And yeah, that's where me and my wife love going.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love little places like that where you stumble and you're like, oh, this is a whole lot different than I thought it was going to be.
And that is usually the anomaly. Most of the time, when it looks bad, it's not great. But occasionally, you go to New York or sometimes in LA, you'll run into those holes in the wall, and it's like, it changes your life.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you got started in this wild entertainment world.
Where did I get started? Well, I guess the day I was born. No, I won't take back that far. I would say that okay, so funny story time. I was the guy in high school. We all remember it, circa 2005, 6, 7, 8. I was the guy at the front of Abercrombie, standing there shirtless, saying, "Welcome to Abercrombie." That was me. Okay, I literally did this job, and my wife remembers this. We were in high school, and so the girls would come and see me working there, and be like, take pictures, whatever. But that was how I got involved with modeling, and of course, the modeling world, as you know, is pretty closely correlated with acting in some regards. And so my print agent at the time, I've been working pretty consistently, kept saying, you need to go out for acting. You have too much personality. You want to entertain too much. There's no way you should just print. Try this. So after a long time of saying no, eventually I said okay. And from the time I said okay, it was like, one of the biggest sets I've ever been on, a Marvel Studios set, was one of my first things I've ever done. And of course that sets the bar pretty high,
I mean, that's like, you're starting at the top then.
Well, fortunately, my role was minor in the sense that there wasn't a ton of like dialogue or anything like that. But the fact that, I was there for a week and I was able to work with James Gunn, and
who's just one of the best
Pratt.
filmmakers ever
Oh
right
my
now.
gosh.
Like, he's incredible.
He's incredible. And literally, Julian, day one, I said, he asked everyone's name. I'm Bo, and he remembered my name from every single day. Bo, we need you to do this, whatever. And so that, had a special place in my heart, because these guys are bigger than life. They're literally like icons, and to be able to see that they're genuinely good people, and that they, all want to make the best movie we can. And so, like you said, that set the bar really high. And so from there on forward, you're hooked. When you're able to see behind the scenes, and some people it takes away the magic. For me, it just added more to it, and I realized, like, hey man, this is so feasible, this is so doable. Yeah, you're gonna get beat up a lot, but at the end of the day, I think it's the only thing I was designed, or something that I could naturally do without having to try too hard, and that the resilience is there in this field, and only this field for me. Everything else I'm like, you know what, I don't like that much, but this is like, you get the crap kicked out of you for years and years and years, and eventually, it stops hurting.
That's a good way to put it. It stops hurting. A little bit each time stops hurting.
Yeah, it's like, going to the gym, right? I mean, we lift weight, and eventually that weight we started with, it's not heavy anymore, so you add more weight, right? Well, that weight didn't necessarily get lighter. It's just the fact that you got stronger. It's the same way I kind of look at this. It's not that, the rejection isn't there. Of course it is. It's there for everyone. I mean, it's nothing but that. But eventually it stops hurting, and eventually you get so calloused that you don't, not in a bad way, but you get so tough skinned that it doesn't cut you when you don't get the role, when you're so close to a career changing move and it doesn't happen. That stuff happens to everyone, but eventually you stop even thinking or feeling it, because it just, you've done it enough.
Right. Well, it's that, that ability to really start framing things as a job, and not really as like, a dreamscape that you wish to be a part of, but really as a job, and saying, hey, things don't work out 90% of the time, but they do that 10%, and that's what you got to focus on.
That's it. And I think the greatest things in life are the hardest things in life. I mean, I think that that's a principle for almost anything. And so, of course, this career is no different. I think that people see the glitz and the glamour, and they think, that people got lucky. And some people, I don't necessarily believe in luck, but I think some people do have an easier path than what we may see. But, that their trial may be on the back end when, they don't work for 20 years. I don't know. But everyone thinks they're going to face trials and tribulations and tough times, and it's really how you handle those that are going to determine your longevity, I feel
Yeah. So, okay, you become an Abercrombie model, and then you go off and you do real modeling. And do you go to any type of schooling for acting? Do you like start getting into classes? What is that like full transformation?
yes. So of course that's when after you realize this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after Guardians, I was able to be on set for Baywatch, and I was a lifeguard in there, cutting room floor, for several of my bigger things. But again, 2 weeks on set with Dwayne Johnson and Zac Efron, and seeing them operate and work, and realizing, you know what, these guys, they took no acting classes. I mean, make no mistake about it. I love them truly, dearly. Like meeting Zac Efron for me was like meeting, Elton John. Like it was larger than life because I watched this guy from high school, all the way up and through too. And he was the guy who saw, early on, thought, if he could do, I feel like maybe I can. But meeting them and seeing that they're very fallible, that they don't come in with every nuanced little inflection of their voice ready prepared, that many situations are going to be marketing, and they're going to be kind of where we're you're trying to be putting in a position that you're going to be able to get to the next job. And so for seeing them do that, I knew I was going to take classes. I knew it was necessary. We started doing, even before COVID, we were doing, online classes and video conferences and video classes, and then local classes. Fortunately, I have the School of the Arts, which is 15 minutes from where I live. And that's,
Oh, nice.
primarily focused on, filmmaking and acting. And so we have a great acting studio here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, that I attended for a bit. But then, you kind of learn on the job.
Mm-hmm.
I've always done better in that way. I think some people, they really love and cling on to this, the safety of a class. But I feel like the only real true freedom I've ever felt, the only growth I've ever really felt, was being pushed out into the deep end and saying, you're about to get fired or you're going to rise to the occasion. And there have been situations like that. It's like, if I don't get this, I'm done,
Yeah.
with this project. But then for some reason, that little extra bit of, push, it really kind of, elevates you, and it worked out great. So acting classes, yes, of course, we got it all involved with that. But I focused a lot on the business of show business. I came from a business background. And so I think I really took it upon myself to get the right team around me, agents, managers, publicists, all the things that kind of elevate you to a certain level. And that's kind of the path I took.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that you've been able to create this career for yourself with also not living in LA or New
Yeah.
York. I
Yes.
mean, that's a big accomplishment for a lot of people. Can you explain a little bit on like how you've been able to do that, especially for the people who are listening that, don't know that they want to move to a big city like that?
Sure. So my thought process, whether it's good or bad, has been, many times what everyone's doing may not be the best fit.
Mm,
So getting out of school and starting classes and getting some, good early breaks, everyone faces that pressure of, come to LA, come to LA.
mm-hmm.
It's here. And I had several friends who went out there and they took that path. And for me, I always felt more comfort in getting away from the riffraff and from the being so inundated with the quote unquote industry, that I don't get burnt out. You see, if I'm involved, I have the personality that if I'm in a city, in a situation where everyone's an actor and everyone wants to be an actor and everyone can potentially elevate, I won't sleep, I won't eat, I will do nothing but market and go. And then, I've in several situations get burnt out. I'm like, man, I can't keep doing this. And so when I was in LA or I was in New York, it was like that. And so I knew that longevity wise, it would be better for me to be able to remove myself and then to drop into a situation, whether it be filming in Atlanta or filming in Los Angeles or New York, and be there for the work. And when I'm there, I am fully there and only about that. But then I check out and go somewhere else. That's helped me better in my process better, because I don't feel quite as overwhelmed, and I don't feel quite as like a dog chasing a car that
Yeah.
doesn't ever stop, and so you tend to get burnt out for that. So that's really the reason why I made that decision years ago. Is like I don't know that it's necessary now. Now, does it help? Sure, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I definitely miss out on some stuff, but I also think that the way technology is nowadays. I mean, you're in LA,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
so the way technology is nowadays. Look at us.
I know. Here we
I
are.
didn't have to fly to LA. You didn't have to fly to the East Coast.
No.
And we're able to do this now. And so, casting and auditions and callbacks and many, many, many things I've landed and done have been this way
Mm-hmm.
because I think people are communicating now and realizing that we can cut out a lot of the fluff that there used to be. And we're going to have 30 actors waiting in a room for you to, come one at a time. You talk about the nerves, it takes people out. You talk about,
Oh,
you
yeah.
get one take, and you talk about you're late. All these factors are eliminated, and now you're just seeing the pure best actors
Mm.
on tape, which is what the producers see anyway, is a tape
Right.
of your audition. So it's like, I think that's what casting is seeing. They're realizing like, okay, well maybe this thing can be streamlined. We can see 500 people in the same time. I used to take us to see 50,
Yeah.
and you're getting better material, getting better actors. You're getting across the board from London to China to US. It's easier, and that's been more beneficial for me for sure.
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But we also sell merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell and grow at every stage of your business, from the launch your online shop stage all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. They have an all-in-one e-commerce platform and in-person POS system, so wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. With the internet's best converting checkout, 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms, Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers. Shopify has allowed us to share something tangible with the podcast community we've built here, selling our beanies, sweatshirts, and mugs to fans of our shows without taking up too much time from all the other work we do to bring you even more great content. And it's not just us. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Shopify is also the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/REALM now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/realm. You can shop from anywhere doing pretty much anything. You might shop while working, eating, or even listening to this podcast. And however you shop, we all know and love the thrill of the hunt. But do you also know how to get the thrill of the best deals? Because Rakuten shoppers do. With Rakuten, they get the deals they love with the most savings and cash back. And you can get it too. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Sephora, Nike, and even Expedia if you're looking to get some travel in. And getting cash back doesn't mean you have to miss out on sales because those can just be stacked right on top. It's easy to use and based on a simple idea. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back through PayPal or check. Download the free Rakuten app and never miss a deal. Or go to Rakuten.com to start getting the most bang for your buck. That's RAKUTEN.
This episode is brought to you by Twizzlers. Long day, late night, feeling a little bored? Twizzlers is the ultimate sidekick for any moment of the day, no matter what kind of day you're having. The perfect level of sweet and a fun excuse to sit back and relax. Unwind with Twizzlers. To buy now, visit Hersheyland.com/Twizzlers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's this last, year and a half has really opened up the ways of even filmmaking. I mean, there's so many films that were made that were purely done on like Zoom and FaceTime and things that are just, they may not be the next, huge hit, but it's something that creatively fulfilled those filmmakers and those actors during that time. And I think it's really cool that we're living in a time where it's like you can live in North Carolina, you can live anywhere and still be able to have a successful career that is growing.
Right. And the old adage, necessity is the mother of invention. And so for this, the industry needed to have, if it was COVID, you have the writers taking a break, writing the great, amazing material. They're not getting inundated. They're not getting bombarded with other things. But that's also created the necessity to cast things electronically and digitally. And then the result of doing so is coming out, and it's like, these movies and shows are just as good as when we were doing quote unquote in-room auditions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that streamlined that process, and from all the casting directors I've personally spoken to and producers I've spoken to, it's like it just elevated everything, and now it's more efficient. That it's not quite as archaic as like in the 70s, 80s, and some 90s, and even 2000s. It's like, hey, you want to be a movie star, you go to LA. That's the only way of doing it. And now I think there's a lot of ways, even a lot of stars moving out and doing their own thing for this kind of same reason. I talked about, I think Matthew McConaughey's famous for doing the same thing. Chris Pratt famous for doing the same thing. It's like, it's better for some to be away from it and than to be so surrounded by all the time. And, digitally, the technology advancements we made through COVID and previous years have allowed that to happen pretty seamlessly.
Well, I talk about this a lot with my best friend who lives in New York because it's just so different. LA is like this bubble of only like entertainment industry people. And it's really hard to see the world outside of it. Like, it's really difficult because everyone is almost working towards the same goal. Everyone is just like hustle, 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 hustle. And there's no world outside of entertainment almost. Like, LA is such a bubble.
Yeah, it's La La Land, right?
It really is.
It's called that on purpose. It's not an accident. And so, because I think it is magic. It is absolute magic when you're there, and you can see the streets, and you can see the buildings that are in movies, and you can see the Dolby Theater. You can see all these things. But I think that there is also something and some credence to, reminding yourself there is a real world, and staying grounded is very, very key. For particularly a lot what I do, and not getting swiped up in the hubbub and because I have ADD, and so I'm there. It's like, I'm literally like a dog chasing 100 tennis balls. I'm like, I don't know where to go. But yeah.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about the producing side of you, because I've noticed that you have started to get more into producing as well as acting. So tell me how that started and what you're working on.
Yeah. Going back to what I said, necessity is the mother of invention, right? And so, for me, we all have these stories we want to tell, right?
Yeah.
And we all have these things that we have passion projects and things that, we feel like we're the only ones who can tell this story. Whatever this story is, everyone has their own thing. And so for me, I knew that having a controlling aspect as to what I was shooting and having a controlling aspect of the story I wanted to tell was a necessity. The icons that I hold up in you're probably gonna see some of my movies here. I mean, from Gladiator to 300, Braveheart, Troy, all these famous war epic movies, if you want to call them that, those impacted my childhood. So I'm like, okay, this is where we're going. We're going in this world eventually. We're starting smaller. Obviously, you don't go for the $200 million budget feature, but you do start smaller to tell stories that you want to tell. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to work with several writers and one other producer, of a friend of mine now, who believed in the same thing I was doing and believed in ideas that I was having that could be really a genuine take on a story and something that we could work on together. So, we went through the process with the writers, and for months, they were writing and they would send me a copy, and we would make notes, and then I would write, they would write back and forth, and just kind of evolving this thing. And so eventually, without getting enough attention, it's like we were able to do this in a shelter of COVID. That's why I go back. It's like, you had this bubble that, well, what else is everyone going to do? You're sitting at home for the most part. You have a computer and you have the internet. Man, write, create. And I'm not a writer, so don't get it twisted. Like, I have no way a writer. I'm more of like an idea guy and tell a story. But so I guess partnering up with people who, much like you probably do in LA. I mean, that's what you do in LA, right? You're able to glean on to other artists that have maybe the same belief and understanding as you. And so I was able to do that, and we continue to do that, and we're very fortunate going forward, and looking forward to getting some of these eventually these war epics.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Producing is it's one of the greatest joys, I think, because you really get to have that business side of you work, but you still have the creative control at the end of the day with the director and writer, and that collaboration is something that's really special in filmmaking. So I'm excited to see what you guys make.
Yeah, like you said, I think that controlling the business aspect of things as well. I think it's really important for actors and actors listening to understand this is that is show business. And that the greatest artists, the greatest actors will never be seen because they didn't do the other portion, and that is the business part of things, and the fact that you are your own business. And if you don't take it this serious, or you think that it's just you're going to be seen because you're that good, you won't be. And you have to put yourself in situations to understand the business of things and how does it work. And that's, I think, my understanding from the beginning. I started acting. I knew I had to understand that portion, because I got to know who's making the decisions to put me in their movies or not. And why are they making a decision to put me in or not put me in? And so I think in understanding that, that's what opened the door to producing. It's like, well, man, all these decisions anyone can make. Anyone can be creative. I think it's just asking of a lot of help, and don't ask for don't ask for permission. Just do it, and then ask for this later on, and just kind of blaze your own way.
Yeah, and I think it's so much more accessible now. We don't have a studio system that's saying like you have to have a contract with one studio to be able to be an actor. Like, you can do whatever you want now. You can shoot an iPhone movie and have it be something like Tangerine that ends up at huge film festivals and huge, award shows. So I think, the world is kind of our oyster now as creatives, because there's so much that we are able to do now without the help of the huge executives that are the gatekeepers. That's right.
I think that companies like Amazon, who are getting the market, they have more money than they can possibly understand. They're giving people creative freedom, and Netflix is doing the same thing. Now that they don't have to say, we want 1,000 things, we want these dots checked out. It's like, no, if it's good, we'll put it up. Yep. And if it's not, we're not going to. So, now that kind of allows you the creative freedom and voices that have not been told or not been spoken yet to step up, because everyone has their own creative process and their own idea of how things should work. And if you think you have an idea, you think you can do it, man, create it, do it. And then let if you want to put it up on a big platform, let them decide if it's good enough or not. I mean, it's not, doesn't matter if it doesn't mean if it is good. It just means if it's right for them. It's just like dating. You may be perfect, but maybe not perfect for this person. It may be perfect over here. So,
yeah, I mean, a lot of this industry is opinion based, which can be so frustrating, because then you're like, well, why didn't I do this, or why didn't I get this, or why didn't this work out in my favor? And it's like, some other person's opinion just was different. That's it.
Yeah, we thought that the guy, in my situation, the guy had black hair. You have blonde. That's it. It's like, okay. Well, and that kind of goes back to, it's not about necessarily even your acting a lot of the times, and that's what most people don't understand. It's like, it's not that you
it's really not,
or that you are not, even what they're looking for. It's the fact that it could be something so small and minute, but enough that they're like, they have options, like, we're gonna go over here. It's nothing personal, and I think that's what a lot of people understand. I understand very early on is that it's nothing personal if they don't take you. It's not that they have it against you. It's if casters are bringing you back in over and over again, you're good. It's just a matter of time. You'll break through. You just, if they're see what you're bringing every time, and they're looking for a spot for you, that's why they keep bringing you back in, and not be discouraged by the door slamming in your face.
Speaking of door slamming in your face, on this show, we like to share audition stories. Do you have any auditions that you would like to share with the listeners?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I know we want to do something that's gonna be funny, and so we'll start with one that's funny. So I had an audition for a feature, big part, lead role in a feature that was gonna be on Netflix. I'm not gonna tell you the name of it because I didn't get it. But the story goes, I was working with a coach at the time, and it was all about making dynamic choices and doing something unexpected. And so in this situation, I'll give you a quick rundown. The character that I was playing was highly irritated, highly upset, and was being somewhat interrogated by the police, FBI, federal agents. And so I made the decision to face completely 90 degrees from where the camera was, so you could see a profile only. And this was how I did my take. And the camera being completely to my side, you can see Harley in my face, dim lighting. Did the whole thing, felt great about. I was like, oh man, no one's going to do anything like that. And at that point, I made the mistake of thinking just because you do something different doesn't mean it's good different. Yeah. It just said it looks weird. And so, I was like, oh man, I nailed that. Sent it to my agent. Of course, it goes directly to casting, and we hear back, and it's like, we couldn't even see you. We couldn't really hear you. Like, what? No, this is not going to work out at all. Didn't even get another read. Like, we don't want you for this role type thing. I was like, oh, man. And I was so right for it. I was like the same height and weight and, same, symbol. And it was like everything lined up perfectly. But so that was the last time I did that. Yeah. Just because being different doesn't still mean it's good different. No. Just like movement doesn't mean progression.
Mm-hmm.
It means you're just moving around. So that'd be one story that I feel like, people can appreciate that. You won't do anything that'll be quite that bad. I heard the thing about Rachel McAdams doing her whole take on Notebook, facing, the opposite way and not even looking at the camera. I was like, you know what? If she can do it, I can do it. Yeah. And it didn't get to it. That was one. And this is a recent one, actually. It's for a movie I have coming out, Switch Before Birth, actually. I was shooting a film this last March, and I get a call back. And of course, I'm out of town. I'm in a hotel, and we, call back X amount of time, so I have to stop shooting. I tell the director I need 15 minutes. I got this call back. She was gracious enough to let me do that. Go up, and the thing that our director Elizabeth Rome, who's incredible by the way, what she said calmed me so much, because you're dancing in the world of who you really are, this other character I'm playing in this movie, and then also I'm gonna be this other person for 15 minutes.
Right.
I guess it's a really weird dynamic. And so we got online, and then there was all the execs from the studio, casting director, 3 other actors, and the director. And the thing she said that calmed me so much is she said, now this is just a formality, but we just need you to read one more time. That, to me, all the nerves left. And even if it was just, I told her this story later on, in fact, I did on her podcast. Later on, it calmed me enough to know, like, oh, this is mine already. So I was able to be loose and to be able to be in the present, in the moment, and really react to a screen in a hotel room versus trying to do this rote memory, thing that I had prepared beforehand. And you don't always get that. I mean, we've all worked with directors who would never do that. But then I was fortunate enough that she was sensitive to the situation and said, you this is all formality, so whenever you want to do it. And, it was a great callback, and we ended up doing it and doing the film. So, yeah.
I love that. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like having that little bit of reassurance can truly change the whole experience. Whole experience for you. Totally.
And it can do the opposite, I think that we all almost lost jobs, but you can get that pressure, and you can get the pressure thrown in your face so hard, and it's the fight or flight kind of thing, and it'll tense you up to the point you can't even breathe. And like I said, fortunately, working and doing that, it worked out really well.
Yeah, I mean, I remember an acting teacher once told me when I was a teenager to always walk into the room like the part's already yours, because then you don't have those nerves. Just be like, yeah, this is mine, and we're just doing this for fun. And then if you don't get it, well, you don't get it. But at least you can get rid of that nervous little feeling in your stomach where you're like, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, particularly if you really want the part too.
Yeah.
If you're really, hungry for this part, whether it be you need it for the money or you need it for the career, but it is a different beast when you do see the other actors and you do see the casting, and it's always a little colder in there than it was in the hallway.
Always
it's like,
colder.
What is this? There's these games that are being played with you. So like you said, you cling on to, oh my God, the casting director shook my hand with his left hand. And so that's a good sign. Like you try to like cling on to any little thing, I hope you can't oh yeah, this is good. To calm those little nerves. But again, it goes back to, if you do it enough, you do stop having those, believe it or not. And I think, you kind of start being yourself regardless.
Well, Bo, I've so enjoyed having you on the show. Where can people follow you on social media to keep up with everything that you're doing?
Yeah, sure. It's Bo, that's BO_Yokely, Yokley at Instagram and Facebook. I never get on Facebook, but if I do, then hey, there we are. I'm on Instagram, I'm not gonna lie.
I love that. Well, thank you again so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I wish you all the success in the future.
You as well, Julian. Thank you so very much. Thank you for having me, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks again to Bo for coming on the show. Tune in next week. I have Elena Sanchez on the show, and we have a great chat all about creating your own future. So tune in next week. And until then, make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it now. Leave us some love with rate and reviews, with whatever that means. I just totally stepped over my words, but whatever. Rate, review the podcast, and follow us on social media. We post really fun IGTVs every single week from these interviews. You can see us talking actually to each other in different rooms, but to each other. So go to our Instagram. Those links are in the show notes. And happy Halloween, you spooks. I hope you have a great weekend. Again, please be safe. And as always, thanks for coming in.
Talmor, Sheshin Marachi. Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming. And death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Alexis Ohanian. You may know me as one of the co-founders of Reddit, but more recently, a large part of my identity is being a father to my two wonderful daughters. In my podcast, Business Dad, I'm hoping to open up the conversation about balancing careers and family. The one thing I constantly hear successful people say, without fail, is that they wish they'd spent more time with their kids. That's time no one can get back. So I decided to create Business Dad, to engage in the conversation about how we're spending our time now, providing a forum for successful dads to share their joys and challenges of being a working parent. You'll get to hear from a wide range of business dads, from Rainn Wilson and Guy Raz to Todd Carmichael and Shane Battier. And while this podcast will talk about business and will definitely be featuring dads, I think everyone can learn something from these incredible conversations as we unpack the expectations we all have about careers, relationships, and ourselves. Business Dad is available now, so be sure to listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.